final nail in the Furiosa coffin has been delivered in the form of the tax records, in fact. Now follow me on this one. It's a bit of a convoluted tale, but it is in fact an important one. It's the melding of entertainment and the government coming together to, well, waste a lot of your taxpayer dollars. Now this might specifically be an Australian situation, but I mean during 2020, what was the United States government doing? With a certain Avengers Mask Up campaign, the Canadian government, don't even get me started. So yes, this happens in a lot of westernized countries. This just happens to be the most pertinent. So the Furiosa puts tax rebates under scrutiny. Yeah, because this one's pretty significant. Okay. Australian authorities likely shelled out more than $100 million of taxpayer money for Furiosa Mad Max Saga, an example of how the country's tax rebates can spiral out of control, a Brisbane-based media professor argued. The film, which had a $220 million budget, taking it to the most expensive movie ever made in Australia, received taxpayer funding through tax rebates aimed at luring production to boost Australia's economy. This is obviously a practice that is very notably taken advantage of by Disney in the UK. And unfortunately for Disney, that means that they have to disclose all of their tax records to take advantage of these tax rebates, meaning that we figured out that Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness the production budget was over $400 million. Quantumania, Ant-Man 3 was $350, I think, and we're still waiting for the tax records for the Marvels, which that's going to be so very interesting. So yeah, normally they only get a third. Like they get a third of their budget back from those tax credits. It's just this right here. This is pretty steep. Getting 100 back on a $220 million budget? That's kind of crazy. And then also, this film costing $220 million? Knowing that the last time out for the Mad Max franchise was Fury Road in 2015, and that one only brought in $320 million. So, what were you trying to do? You got that big think on? Well, the big think doesn't pay the bills on that one, but in the grand scheme of things, this was a bungled mess of mediocrity. Even people who liked the film kind of had to admit that it was not exactly a smart move for any studio to do. This was a tertiary character in a franchise that is centered around one, not just character, one person. No Mel Gibson, no Mad Max. Tom Hardy, fine actor. Hell, I'm even partial to the guy. He's good at what he does. He's not Mad Max. And Furiosa definitely isn't Mad Max. Charlize Theron is not a draw in an action film. Anya Taylor-Joy, ditto for that. While most people aren't going to read the article or take a look at, even just the base information that's on display right there, they might just end up getting this truncated version in a tweet. And even the context on here doesn't make it seem any better. In fact, probably makes it worse. This post, as phrased, is misleading. Well, what's the phrasing on this? Australian authorities use more than $100 million of taxpayer money to help develop Furiosa. Well, yeah, you can kind of figure out that those are tax rebates, which is just kind of a convoluted way to hand over taxpayer dollars. Foreign film productions that qualify for Australia's tax rebate receive back 30% of what they spent in Australia. Companies, for example, if Furiosa received $100 million, then more than $300 million was spent with Australian companies. Oh, so the budget, at least as is reported as $220 million, could actually end up being worse. Oh, okay, cool, fantastic. But that's all right. It wasn't like this film was an abysmal flop or anything like. Oh wait, it was. Yeah, in its third weekend, taking in $2.6 million, barely hanging on to the top 10, dropping another 1,100 theaters. It's not great. It's not great at all. There's not going to be a rebound for this. This is going to be one of those films that's going to be resigned to the dustbin of history and another footnote in an otherwise unremarkable 2024 for Hollywood. Until, in fact, we do get to this week where it kind of strange, right? Because 2023 was, in fact, the year of the flopbuster, as was coined by Variety. And, well, that was very much the case. And there was one studio in particular that released a fair number of those flops. Warner Brothers, well, they added to that total. But the biggest contributor to that perception was, in fact, Disney. Now, fast forward to 2024, and it's kind of looking like Disney is going to have the two best performing films of the year. It's kind of weird, right? Deadpool and Wolverine, its pre-sale numbers looking like it's on track to be in on and around $1 billion. And then you have Inside Out 2, which I don't really know. Was there much buzz for this one? But it really doesn't much matter because this thing went gangbusters. $154 million over the weekend. Congratulations, okay? For as much as I detest what modern day Disney is all about, you can't dispute numbers, guys, okay? And just about $300 million, probably by the time that you see this, obviously, by the time that you see this video, it will have crossed at $300 million and probably well on its way to being Pixar's and Disney's too when it comes to an animated feature, but definitely Pixar's best performing film since, Toy Story 4, probably? Since 2019? Probably his best performing film since then? Let's be completely honest. I've heard a couple of things in general. Haven't really heard much about this, mostly because, I don't spend a lot of time researching films that are specifically pointed towards children, especially younger children. You could argue that Star Wars is a movie or as a franchise about space wizards intended for children. But when it comes to animated Pixar flicks, like outside of just the indoctrination and propaganda inserted in Elemental or just how monumental of a disaster Lightyear was in 2022, Pixar is up to on a daily basis outside of, laying off hundreds and hundreds of employees, 11% of the company. Their day-to-day goings on doesn't really cross my desk. So when I see them have this outright outrageous success, congratulations, I suppose. And I guess, credit where credit is due, given the fact that what I have heard, even just some of the passing accounts of this, it's not a continuation of modern day Disney branding. It's more or less just an inoffensive children's cartoon, which is good, which is what Disney used to have as their bread and butter. During the Renaissance, there was no political messaging, okay? It was banger after banger after banger after banger. Even all the way up to and including 2014, I think is probably where we can just specifically cut things off. Disney was putting out good films that resonated with families. And so is this something that we can look at? This $300 million worldwide, $154 million domestic. What can we learn from this situation? Okay, is this one of those things where Disney is back? Are we back, bro? Is this peak Disney? Is Inside 2 hot fire, or whatever they say? Wins with women. Oh, okay. Shocking box office explosion leads to huge merchandise support. Oh, it's almost like Disney. Okay, it's most of their examples that are out there can't quite grasp this phenomenon, but when they make a movie specifically for a demographic, target it and market it towards them, it works out that way. Why do you think Barbie was a success last year? Not because it was well written, not because Margot Robbie or Ryan Gosling's wonky eyes or movie stars. No. It's a brand that is for women, and it is a movie catered to women. Inside Out 2 is a movie for children, catered to children. Inoffensive in its marketing, inoffensive in its messaging, meaning that mothers are going to look at that and trust it. And in today's entertainment space, if you're trying to get after the kids' dollars, which is a very lucrative market, what do you end up marketing to? Oh, right, the women, the group that has the most disposable income, the group that controls 80% of household purchases. Disney can still do this. They're showing that they're capable of doing it. It's just, are they going to learn the right lessons from this success? Or are they just going to look at this and go, yeah, you know what, Inside Out 2, Deadpool and Wolverine, because we can already kind of see that that one's going to be a success. And if Pixar, legendarily, Pixar movies do have good legs outside of the exceptions, like Lightyear was a catastrophic failure. Strange Worlds, I think that was just under Disney Animation. That was a horrific bombing run, the likes of which only the Death Star have ever seen. But the exceptions don't disprove the rules. Pixar movies do well, especially during the summer. So yeah, Inside Out 2 is probably going to be the second biggest film of the year, depending on what, Despicable Me 4 does, which, again, it knows its audience, okay? The Minions are catered towards kids. The Minions are appreciated and liked by women the same way that, oh, guess what? The Mandalorian was bolstered not because Din Djarin's a compelling character, it's because, oh, Baby Yoda's so cute, oh, we love little Baby Grogu. That's why I think Disney's not going to end up learning the right lessons from this, because, yeah, Baby Grogu was popular, but women like Baby Grogu, they don't like Star Wars. Moms like inoffensive cartoons for their family. And if the movie resonates with the kids, they're going to buy the movie affiliated merchandise. It's really that simple. Inside Out 2 is expected to top $155 million at the domestic box office, ended up getting closer to 160. North America, once all the pennies and dollars have been counted at the end of the day, with more than 60% of the audience in the first day being made up of women, a large percentage being adult women. Yeah, mom's bringing kids to the cinema. 60%, I mean, like there's probably a bunch of box wine ants. Okay, so that makes sense. Pixar's latest is not only their second best box office haul for an opening, is also a bona fide feminine phenomenon. Interesting. Success is significant for Pixar. Marking a much needed return to form for a studio has had a string of underwhelming launches, including Elemental, which did eventually become a success. No, it didn't. It still lost money. And Lightyear, which there's no way that you can spin that. Okay, it's also vitally important for the greater Hollywood ecosystem and the health of the theatrical exhibition, which has been running at a 26% deficit. Like, let's not mince words here, okay? No, men lie, women lie, but numbers don't. Hollywood is still going to be down on the year because at this point, we're coming up at the 1-year anniversary of the Barbenheimer phenomenon. Inside Out 2 is probably not going to make $1 billion. Deadpool and Wolverine might make $1 billion. Maybe. There was no Super Mario Brothers equivalent earlier this year. You're still going to be trailing. This could end up eating into it. And again, I want Disney to succeed. I want them to take a look at this and go, you know what? Why was this successful? Because it knew its audience and it was going after them, not trying to push a message. That's just what I've heard. It could be festoon propaganda, which wouldn't at all surprise me. I'm just going off of some reviews, some early reviews that I've heard from people that are normally pretty consistent with relaying truthful information. And while this might be a one-off, okay, Disney has other things that are going to be coming out in the near future, and especially looking forward to 2025, where it's just going to be back to the same old sludge pipe cracking back open. What can they learn from Inside Out 2? Blowing past expectations. In the weekend, it was, $80 million would have been expected. It ended up doubling that. What are they going to take away? Okay, you listen to Bob Iger. He wants to focus on quality, not quantity. What else was he talking about during one of those belabored speeches? Oh, right, a doubling down and focus on sequels, prequels, and reboots. So, instead of learning the lesson that less messaging equals more profit, it's just going to be greenlighting Inside Out 3. It's just going to be doubling down on established IPs. They're not going to learn the right lesson from this, man. It's going to be the same reason when a month from now we take a look at the success of Deadpool and Wolverine, regardless of the quality of the film. It's going to have a blockbuster opening. They're going to be pushing hard to bring back Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds reprising their roles, because regular people, trying to make their way in the world, understand that you can't allow for the exception to disprove the rule, but you got Hollywood out here constantly, time and time again, and especially Disney, the last one to ever make meaningful changes, will always learn the wrong lessons. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.